All right, today I thought we'd talk about reactive shooting. So in a past video, I discussed the way we introduce our recruits to predictive shooting and the why, and we do it all on day 2. So they learn how to do predictive and they start shooting doubles on their second day of live fire training. And then we use that as kind of an introduction, almost as a point counterpoint or two sides of the same coin to then roll right into reactive shooting. And reactive shooting is really the meat and potatoes of law enforcement style shooting, high degree of accountability with a high degree of accuracy, and as quickly as they're able to get it done, which is like the gold standard of what we're looking for. We want high speed, high accuracy, great accountability. Like that's everything you can ask for when the chips are down and you're involved in critical incident. So we teach it the way I teach it is we have three basic different types of confirmations for reactive shooting. We've got a stopped, stable dot. The dot is stopped, still. It looks like a dot before I pull the trigger. I've got a bouncing ball where my vision is locked on a specific place. And every time that red dot that look comes down and touches the spot, I pull the trigger again. So it just bounces off of my vision spot like a little bouncing red ball, like this. And then finally, color or like a flash of color, shooting color confirmation. So instead of looking for a ball or a stop dot, more or less what I'm looking for is if I see the color red inside my window near the spot on the target that I'm looking at, I send it. And so why do we teach three different types of confirmation? Ben and Joel teach basically just two. You've got reactive and color confirmation. So reactive would be kind of the bouncing ball. Color confirmation is I react to the color and send it. Why do we bother with the stop stable dot? Well, most of the folks that we were teaching this to are brand new shooters. They don't have a lot of experience. They don't have a lot of time behind a gun, behind a red dot. So by allowing them to start with the stop stable dot, it gives a framework to understand the other ones moving forward. So I demo, explain, and we train them all kind of in relation to one another. I'll tell you what I mean. So when it's time for me to explain it, I bring them all in, put our eyes and ears on, and on the target, I've got the target backer, big piece of cardboard, and we've got 4 different 8.5 by 11 white pieces of paper. All of them have got a black spot, black sticker right in the middle as a vision focus spot. And on the top left one, I'll demo the stop stable dot. They're all familiar with it. And I use a gun with I think it's an Olight. I can't remember the model number, but it looks like a Surefire, but it shoots a green laser out of it. I chose it because it fits in Surefire holsters. So it fits in my Safari line. I don't have to take it off. So I'll demo it. And what I'll do is I'll actually turn the laser on so they can see on the target what my dot would look like. So I'll turn my red dot off, and then I just look through the window at the green laser that is projected on the target. And I use that like I would if I was just shooting a green dot in the window, but now they get to see what I see. And so I'll look at the black spot, let the dot come down, pull the trigger, the dot goes up, let it come down, stop, stabilize, looks like a dot, pull the trigger. I'm like, okay, does that look familiar? Of course, like all the bobbleheads are like, yeah, we know exactly what that looks like. We've been doing that for a day and a half. We're real familiar with that. So then I will say, okay, now if I wanted to do this quicker, how would I shoot quicker without necessarily just pushing fast forward on the whole shooting process? You can't use words like fast and slow. And I'll try to draw some concept of out of them, like some idea of like, well, what if I shot before the dot stopped? And it's like exactly. And so then I'll just demo it for them, and I'll look at the spot, put the green laser right on there, and it's just bop 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 bop. Every time the green laser comes down, touches the black spot, I pull the trigger again, and I'll say, what does that look like? And they usually come up with like, oh, it looks like a bouncing thing or a ball or a bouncing ball. Like usually they end up landing on the terminology that we generally use. And once upon a time, when Ben and Juansik and Joel kind of all started teaching this stuff, it was numbered confirmation levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. And in the very beginning, we tried to attach numbers to it like that, but we abandoned it very quickly because you could kind of see the confusion set in of trying to attach numbers to the way we describe it as a way to talk about it. And so instead we just got rid of the numbers and we talk about it the way that it looks. and it resonates with people, and they absorb it and hold on to it a lot easier that way. And so, yeah, we're like, yeah, exactly. It's just a bouncing ball. So now I'm shooting a moving sighting system. Every time the dot comes down to the place that I'm looking, the microsecond that it touches the place I'm looking, I pull the trigger again. I'm not waiting for it to stop. The sighting system never stops moving. And they're like, okay, I get that. So then I'll ask, how would I go even quicker? And most of the time they've caught on at this point. They've already done predictive shooting, so they're kind of familiar with what a streaking dot would look like, and they'll say something like, oh, you shoot the streak, or just like, maybe a slash or something like, and some verbiage like that. I'm like, yes, exactly. I'm simply going to react to the color of my sight. So in this case, my dot is green. I'm going to lock my vision on that black square. The instant I see the color green inside my window, anywhere near that black spot, I pull the trigger again. And then I'll demo it for them. Bop, 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 bop. And then we talk about group size, like which one is the most accurate. Like, oh, we'll stop stable dots. Like, yeah, all of them are on the pacer, but how much less accurate is the bouncing ball? And if I'm demoing at 5 or 7 yards, it's not much less accurate. They're like, yeah, that's really, really tight. It's like, exactly. But how much time did we pick up by doing it that way? Like, time considerable, exactly. Then we look at the flash, the reaction, just the color confirmation piece. I'll shoot them on 3 different targets. I think I forgot to mention that. So I shoot stop stable dot, top left. Then I'll shoot the top right target, bouncing ball. Bottom left is the flash of color. So we've kind of got 3 distinct groups to look at. We'll look at the group on the color confirmation piece, and like, what's that group look like? It's a little wider, but like, how much faster was it? Like, oh, it was a lot faster. Exactly. So if time is a factor, how do we pick up more time? Oh, we get less information out of our sights. And that's the way we kind of approach it. As I am able to, given target difficulty and distance, if I'm able to get less information out of my sights, or I don't have to wait for more information, I can get by with less information out of my sights, that allows me to begin shooting and continue shooting sooner. And that way they start to kind of process like, oh, okay, this is visually driven. I'm not shooting what I want the gun to sound like. I'm not trying to shoot a predetermined pace. It's what do I want my sight to look like, and then how do I react to what I see in order to make that happen. And then what I'll do on the last target, because we've got 3 that I've shot so far, on the last blank target, I will just do a full send as fast as I can pull the trigger with no visual attachment to either the target or the sights. It's just index and smash the trigger. And I'll do that right after I do the flash color. And I do it for a reason, because I want them to hear and see the difference. I'll usually ask them, how much faster was that than the flash of color? And I'll tell them what I'm going to do before I shoot it. And almost always they're like, I couldn't really hear much of a difference. And it's usually, a tenth or so faster, maybe, 2/10 or something like that. But the hits are much more erratic. And I do that to impress upon them that shooting a flash of color confirmation, is not as fast as they can pull the trigger. And the results bear it out dramatically, because when I do run the trigger as fast as I can, the group opens up. There's no real connection, because I'm not visually attached to the sight. I'm not reacting to anything. Versus when I do react to something, even though it's not much, it's just the color of the sight returning near the spot that I'm looking, the hits all go relatively close to there, and it's not really a whole lot slower than doing it full send, but the results are a lot better. So then they start to understand, like, oh, okay, these are not just as fast as this will go. Everything is governed by what I see. It's all visually tied. It's all visually reactive, hence the term reactive shooting. And so when I explain it that way, they tend to understand. We talk about how the group sizes open up. I'm like, hey, what do you think's going to happen as we back up? Like, oh, the groups will continue to open up. Exactly. And so then I immediately get them shooting. So we put them on maybe the 5-yard line, something very close, so they can have success. And we have them run through all the different confirmations. So I'll have them start out, hey, top left, give me 3 rounds, stop stable dot, because that's the one they're most familiar with. So we start there as a beginning point. Then I'll have them do that 2 or 3 times. Hey, top right target, I want you to shoot 3 rounds of bouncing ball, and they're there, bop, bop, bop. Some of them are very reluctant to get away from the stop dot at first. So we've got the coaches right behind them. They're like, hey, you're shooting your bouncing ball is exactly like your stop dot. You need to pull the trigger before the dot stops moving. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but you need to give it a try because that's how you learn. And we kind of prod them into that speed, and they get there. And so now we have them shoot several strings of bouncing ball, and then once we kind of looks like everybody's getting that, we'll go down and have them shoot the flash color, and we reinforce the idea that we are seeing something. Not much. It's not a lot of information. It's definitely less information than a bouncing ball, but I need to be reacting to some level of information, and my eyes are locked on to that black spot in the center of the target because that's what's going to bring that color back to that spot. And then the moment I see the color, I react, and we have them shoot that. And relatively quickly, they understand the relationship to the three of them. And then I'll have them shoot one on the fourth page on the blank one. I'm like, hey guys, now on the beep, I want full send. I don't care where the bullets go. I want you to rip 4 rounds as fast as you can pull the trigger. Try to put them on the paper. Rip 4 rounds as fast as you can go. And then they run it, and the results are as you would expect. Like, we all know how that story ends. And then I immediately have them go back and shoot like 3 or 4 rounds of flash of color. And the groups are dramatically better. I mean, we're at 5 yards here. We're talking most everybody's shooting maybe a 4 or 5 inch group. There's a few that are kind of all spread out over the 8.5 by 11, but almost everybody's keeping them on the 8.5 by 11 at 5 yards. And then they quickly see like, oh, when I'm visually attached to what's happening and I'm visually guided and reactive to the sight, it's not really slower, but the results are a lot better. So now they've seen me do it and talk about it, but now they've lived it and it's real. And then I don't go back to once they've seen that, I don't need to go back to having them shoot as fast as they can pull the trigger. It's just like a single experiential thing. Like, this is what full send feels like. Now when you back down, look, visually tied, like this is how good it is. And then we just keep rotating through those confirmation levels until we run through all those magazines. We'll go from flash of color to stop stable, bouncing ball, flash of color, bouncing ball, just bounce back and forth till I run them empty. And like assessing what's happening after we shoot it. If they've got rounds that are drifting low, you've got the coaches over there like, hey, tell me about this round, or why are those down there? What do you think's happening? Oh, I'm shoving on the gun. Or, we've got rounds drifting up. What do you think's happening? Oh, I stared at my dot. It was the second round of the 4-round string. I saw my eyes go up, but, I was able to fix it for rounds 3 and 4. That's awesome. If we hear that, we know that the learning's happening. Like that, they're making the cause and effect loop, and they're self-assessing inside of the time period of the whole string of fire and making corrections in real time. I mean, really, on a second day of recruit training, I can't ask for much more than that. And that's not an uncommon story. So we'll have them reload, we'll pace up the targets, and we run it again. And we spend a lot of time and a lot of ammunition on this because it's the real meat and potatoes of what's going on. We will assess targets, meaning we'll kind of bring everybody in. Same with predictive shooting, talk about patterns. Hey, we've got the seatbelt pattern here. What do you think's going on? What do you think the shooter's doing? We've got rounds that are high. What do you think this shooter's doing? Do any of these mistakes look like mistakes on your target? Yeah, okay, so this is what's happening. And then we'll talk about what happens to the groups as we back up. Yep, they're going to open up. Okay, so if we take, and I'll pick one particular target, right? The flash of color, the color confirmation target. I'm like, how far back do you think you can go before your accuracy is no longer acceptable if I tell you that you have to keep the rounds on the 8.5 by 11? And they'll all kind of think about it. I don't actually ask them to give me an answer, but it starts to get them thinking that, oh, okay, now I get it. Based on targeted difficulty and distance, I can pick my own confirmation level, and at a certain distance or target size, certain confirmation levels won't be acceptable anymore because they're not accurate enough. And so now they start to understand I can toggle through these different information levels and select the one that is most appropriate for the task that I'm given, depending on how far away I am and my own self-assessment as in my abilities as a shooter. And so once we've talked about that, we run it again and we start moving them back, 5, 7, up to the 3, back to the 10, back to the 15, up to the 7, up to the 3, back to the 15. We just bounce back and forth, and we at each line, we have them shoot a few strings of each different type of confirmation. We don't always go in order. We bounce it around because we want them to be able to just select it and shoot it. And we'll keep doing that. as when we run out of ammo, we have them reload. Somewhere in there, we will turn the dots off and we have them do it with irons. And it's more of a struggle. We can't go quite as far. Um, for brand new shooters, trying to run like a flash of color or bouncing ball at 15 yards with irons is like a real challenge. But we'll run them at the closer yard lines to give them experience on what it feels like. They understand how this works, what it's supposed to look like, what the habits are that they're forming, the inputs they're making on the gun when they have mistakes. And then when we go back to dots, they're just able to see more because the dots are just so much more, they're so much visually louder with all the information. And we seem to see a lot of learning occur that way by bouncing back and forth. And so we will spend a lot of ammo on this day between doubles and confirmation levels. This is one of our most ammo heavy days of our whole program, and we shoot a ton of ammo on it. But this is where to spend ammo. You can dry fire trigger pulls with input. You can dry fire and train reloads, movement, target transitions, draws, index, all that stuff. The one thing you really cannot work in dry fire is the recoil management piece and reacting to your dot, coming back, pulling the trigger again, and working the different confirmation levels. So this is where we spend a lot of ammo because this is the one thing you can't train in dry fire. So we think it's a good investment. And then we work through this essentially for most of the rest of the day. And then at the end, we do another metric. We do build drills. So what I do is I gather them all around. I've got a clean USPSA target. And we talk about hit factor scoring. I introduce the idea of hit factor scoring to them, talk through how it's points divided by time. I show them a couple different examples of targets. I got one target that's got like 6 rounds just on top of the perforated A of a USPSA target and like 6 rounds in there. And then I've got another target that's got 1 in the A and then it's got 5 in the C. And I ask them, which target do you like better? And they all point to the one with the 6 nice tidy rounds right there. I was like, why? And they're like, well, that one's tighter. It's a better group. And I'll ask them, well, what if I told you it took somebody 10 seconds to shoot that target? And then this other one over here, which has got 1 round, right in the center, and then 5 kind of around in the C zone, it only took that person 2 seconds to shoot that one. They're all like, oh, well, that one's better because it's faster. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we all agree that time matters. And they're like, yeah, time matters. So then we talk about hit factor scoring. And so hit factor scoring is nothing more than time or points divided by time. So if each bullet's worth 5 points, which is the way USPSA works, the one with all 6 rounds in the center would be 30 points, but it took 10 seconds to get there. So the hit factor would be a factor of 3 points scored per second. The other one with 1 round in the center, 5 in the C zone. Each C zone hit's worth 3. That's a total of 20 points. So even though they were 10 points less, they got it done in 2 seconds. So 20 points divided by 2 is a hit factor of 10 points scored per second. So 10 is way higher than 3. That's more kinetic energy delivered to the target per second than 3. So that's the better target. And now they really get what hit factor means. They understand like, oh, this is how that works. So then I will do a demo for them. So on that blank USPSA target, I shoot several build drills. The first one I do, I tell them is like, I'm going to shoot a very stopped, very stable, very static dot. Draw the gun on the beep, comes up, bang, 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 bang. And like that dot stopped and it's perfect every time before I pull the trigger. And it's like a 4-second build drill. And then I'll say, okay, now guys, how would I want to, if I wanted to go faster, what would I do? And usually they'll be like, oh, speed up. I'm like, oh, so I just speed everything up. I draw faster, I see faster, I pull the trigger faster. And then they usually catch on. Like, no. Do the bouncing ball thing. I was like, okay, so I'll do the bouncing ball. So then I'll shoot a bouncing ball, and it's usually somewhere in the mid to high 2s, 2.5 to 2 to, low or 3-second range. So like, okay, so I knocked a second to a second and a half off by simply just not letting the dot stop. But the accuracy didn't get any worse, right? It's all still in the A zone. They're like, yep. So like, now what would I want to do if I want to go even quicker? Like, oh, I'll shoot a flash of color. So I'll shoot a flash of color. And so that's usually like a 1, depending on the day, like a 1.9 to 2.1, because I'm working out of like a duty holster, like an ALS style duty holster. And now we've knocked another half second to a full second off, but I still got all A's. And then I'll do a full send run form where it's just like, I'm not visually reacting to the dot at all. Maybe I'm not even locked onto a spot. on the target at all. It's just rip the gun out of the holster, 6 rounds, full send as fast as my finger can go, and we'll see what the hits are, right? And sometimes when I do that, there's a couple deltas in there. Occasionally there's a mic over a shoulder. And so then now they've seen and they understand the hit factor curve of being too slow, where your accuracy is not relevant, the middle peak kind of on the bell curve where the speed and accuracy are a good balance, and then we've slid down the other side where your accuracy is not enough for your speed to matter. You're too inaccurate regardless of how fast you are. Then we put them on targets. We run several on the group, right? We're not actually keeping time. We just give them a beep. We let them draw and fire 6 rounds. And we have them explore different conformations. Hey, try bouncing ball. Hey, try flash of color. Hey, try stop stable dot. Try, and we'll give them 6, 7, 8 runs with all, not with all of them, but 6, 7, 8 runs total. And we let them experiment and figure out which one gives them the best accuracy given the times. And then, we take clean targets and we go down the line, we run them one at a time, and we record all the metrics. And, come up, each student shoots by themselves. We run them on the timer, record all the hits, give them a hit factor. And then that goes in our book, and we run build drills like 7, 8 times throughout the program. And again, just like with the B8s, it's not anything that we're trying to compare one student to another. It is a snapshot in time of where this person was on day 2 with that metric. And then we have class averages. We can compare this class average to that class average to the next class average. And then we can also see their progression over time. Like, how does this individual shooter improve? What is the average level of improvement for each, like for any particular shooter? Like if you look at class averages, did they improve by 200%? Did they improve by 400%? What was it? How is this shooter improving? And that just gives us data to work from. So that's like kind of top to bottom, walking through all of day 2's reactive shooting and kind of how we finish up with a build drill. That's how we instruct it. That's the way we walk through it. That's the hows and the whys. If there's anything I didn't cover, you got any additional questions, throw them down below. I'm supposed to say like, share, and subscribe or whatever. It's cool if you do. It's also cool if you don't. Take care, everybody.